conflict between two warring superpowers, constant battles between giant mechs, and uncovering why your fiancé named Karen was killed? Somebody call the manager. This is Nintenjoel, and this is my review of Front Mission for the Super Famicom. Tactical RPGs. The one genre of RPGs that I just didn't get for the longest time. I was always a fan of turn-based RPGs and action RPGs, and even some like side-scrolling action RPGs, and I just never quite got into the turn-based tactical RPG genre. That all changed when I finally decided to play the first Shining Force on Sega Genesis, and absolutely fell in love with it. And after riding the high of defeating that game and finally falling in love with the tactical RPG, I decided it was time for another, and that next tactical RPG was Front Mission, which I adore. Okay, now for all the information that you can look up on Wikipedia, which is exactly what I did. Front Mission basically was developed by a company called G-Craft, published by Squaresoft. This never got released in America, but it was released in Japan in 1995, February 24th to be exact. Again, this is all information you can find on Wikipedia, but I feel like people just want to know, so without having to type it in themselves. So the music was composed by Yoko Shimomura and Noriko Matsueda. I probably am butchering that. Sorry about that. They both have contributed some really awesome soundtracks, such as Gargoyles Quest, Final Fight tracks, King of Dragons, Breath of Fire, Live a Live, Super Mario RPG, Chrono Trigger, Bahamut Lagoon, Front Mission 2, Tobal Number 1, between the two of them. So, yeah, they've both worked on some pretty crazy soundtracks, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, Squaresoft put this out in Japan in 1995, as I said, and then we just never got this game. It was never released in America until DS. We never got it back then, I should say, but when we got it on DS, it did, of course, have a few quality of life improvements, and there is a second little mission as well, where you are with the UCS as Lieutenant Kevin Greenfield, but it's called the USN on Front Mission on Super Famicom instead of UCS on DS, which is weird, but, you know, some things were changed up because the official translation... There was no official translation for the Super Famicom cart. Okay, so if you aren't familiar with what a tactical RPG is, think of something like Fire Emblem or the very obvious game Final Fantasy Tactics. Basically a turn-based RPG, but it's set on a grid, not unlike a chessboard. In this game, your pilotable mechs are referred to as Wanzers, and on this grid is where you're going to be placing your Wanzers and moving them about, as well as the enemy's Wanzers will be there to do combat and blow each other to pieces, hopefully. Okay, here's the thing, Astriel. The thing is you don't just move one Wanzer and then, like, attack with him, and then your enemy moves a Wanzer and then it attacks with it. No. What you want to do is you have to position all of your Wanzers, and then they all take their turn attacking and moving and such, and then the enemies do the exact same thing. They position and attack with all of their units, making it much more strategic and tactical, because you have to kind of plan ahead for that may happen, even though you're moving all of your units at once. Are you paying attention at all? Each unit has a set number of steps, or in Front Mission's case, squares, that they can move. So you first move your character, and then once your unit is positioned where you want it appropriately, you can select to do several things. You can attack, you can use items, and when it's the enemy's turn, you can also defend. Or also, what's interesting is when you're defending and it's the enemy's turn, you get to select a weapon to use as a counterattack, which is pretty interesting. Pretty much every time you attack in this game, or an enemy attacks in this game, the other party attempts to counterattack. Whether it actually hits or not is a different story. So once you choose to attack, and depending on what you have equipped, you have the option to straight up just punch a mech in the grill, or you can use short-range bullet fire such as machine guns or rifles, Or you can use long-range rocket launchers, but the thing about the rocket launchers is they have a lot of power, but you have only a set number of missiles to use. Your ammo is limited. Your Wanzers and the enemy Wanzers are composed of several parts, and in combat, different parts such as the body, legs, arms can be focused on for an attack. So like destroying the legs causes slow and stunted movement, blowing off arms means the weapons that are equipped there are unusable, and if you completely annihilate the body, that actually destroys the Wanzer, and takes it out of combat. If all your Wanzers are destroyed, it's game over and back to your last save point. Combat in front mission is pretty satisfying, actually. It's nice to be able to have a nice fluid motion with the cursor, and the backgrounds are very nice. I like the terrain, and I especially like the designs of the robots and the different shooting abilities that you have and different ways of attacking. As far as enemies, they look really cool. Graphically, this game is really nice. There's all kinds of different enemies to fight. There's mechs, there's platforms, there's giant gun things. There's just all kinds of crazy stuff to fight, and graphically, it looks really nice in my opinion. It's not the most mind-blowing graphical accomplishment of the Super Nintendo or Super Famicom, but it's decent. Of note is the customization of your mechs and how it appears on screen. You know, it's really cool that you can customize your mech in so many ways, and it is actually indeed going to show up on screen that way. Impressive stuff. I will note that some of the art and character designs are very, very similar to the art from Final Fantasy VI because they were actually designed by the same person. Yoshitaka Amano is the one that does the character design and illustrations, scene designs, all that kind of stuff. As far as front mission. Tons of other stuff, too, that he's done. Yeah, he certainly has had his hands in a lot of Final Fantasy stuff. Front mission, multiple front missions. I mean, game after game after game. He's been doing Final Fantasy art for years. The soundtrack for Front Mission is a very nice one. It has a very nice sound to it, very nice bombastic tracks. Kind of reminds me of like military type stuff, but really what it kind of reminds me of is older Final Fantasy games, especially Final Fantasy VI, which is odd because neither of the composers worked on any of those old Final Fantasy games. But yeah, it's got something similar to that style, and it is very addicting. Of special note, though, is the shop theme. It is so good. Let's take a listen to just a tiny clip right here. Amazing stuff. So also, sound effects, great. Pew pew, boom boom, blam, all kinds of great stuff. It's very nicely done as far as the sound design. Okay, out of combat, you've got several things to do in the town. Most towns have a shop, a military office, a bar, a coliseum, and you can also check your status window here. You can also set up your Wanzer here, and you can also save and load from the towns as well. Okay, the shop. Fairly self-explanatory. This is where you're going to buy stuff to upgrade your mechs. And man, you can upgrade everything from backpacks to CPUs to arms, rocket launchers, legs. The entire body can be remanufactured and you can get a whole new body. It's absolutely crazy how much customization there is in a Super Nintendo tactical RPG. One thing of note is how many different colors they actually added. I'm going to scroll through and show you guys just how many colors are available for your Wanzers. It's absolutely insane and adds a really nice touch to customization. As far as the military office and the bar, they are not really that big of a deal. It's mostly information that can be gathered at either place regarding what you are doing or what you are about to do in the current mission or upcoming mission. Though sometimes your missions do have to be kicked off at the military office itself. Okay, so the Coliseum is really interesting, and it's the way to boost your mechs up if you need to grind. So if you don't want to get into combat over and over, and I don't think you can. I'm not sure you can go back to previous areas and do missions again. I don't think you can, but you can go to the Coliseum and you can grind there by engaging in combat with other Wanzers and their pilots. Now, in the Coliseum, there is no grid. There's no grid-based combat at all. It's just one mech on one mech. You can use all of your weapons at any time. And so you pretty much have to choose, you know, do you want to do short range attack, long range attack, or do you don't want to do something in the middle with bullets? And basically your enemies got the same choices, and you beat the crap out of each other for a little while and see who comes out on top. Now, this is a great way to gain experience and to gain money so that you can buy more parts for your Wanzer. So you're going to want to grind and do a lot of battling in the Coliseum for sure. Status window, pretty self-explanatory, not really going to get into that. As far as setting up your Wanzer, you can rename it, you can recolor it, you can equip different parts that you have. So setup, pretty basic. And then you can save and load. That's about it. As far as the story with Front Mission, it's a pretty good story. I like that it's not so standard. There's not so many cliches in it. You're not saving a princess. You're not fighting God. You're not saving the world. You're not getting a giant team of people from 8 different continents together to take on a military force or some crap like that. No, basically what's happened is 2 superpowers are warring over an island that has appeared. I'm assuming volcanically. I don't actually remember, but I'm assuming, you know, volcanically an island appeared, and it's being contested by 2 superpowers, and it's a source of much conflict. Now, what ends up happening is your main character, Lloyd Clive, is actually the leader of a military team, and they are in their Wanzers, and they decide to do some reconnoitering, some reconnaissance on the enemy, but in their own territory, and it just all goes horribly wrong. Your fiancé is killed. Basically, a bunch of crap goes down, and you are shamed, you are discharged from the military, and you are left to wander around and fight Colosseum battles. And what follows is more international conflict, political intrigue, more giant mechs blowing the crap out of each other, and it's a ton of fun. A good story, great music, and just a memorable game over on Front Mission on Super Famicom comes highly recommended, and if you need to play it in a different manner, you can play the DS port, which is a great port with actually some extra stuff, so why not give that a try? There's a ton of other Front Mission games, and if you saw the last Nintendo Direct, we are getting a remake of this Front Mission, the first Front Mission, and Front Mission 2, which we never got here in the United States, so it's going to be amazing! If you enjoyed the video, and if you enjoyed any other of my videos, please subscribe, that would be amazing. Punch that like button in the face, and be sure to comment, let me know what you thought, that would be amazing. You guys rule, much love, and keep rocking the retro games. Rocking the retro games. Sometimes I talk and I just get out of breath. But that's about all I have for you guys. Hopefully you... Okay.